Alright guys, so I've been meaning to do this video for about a year now. I want to do a video about my car history, and I'm just about to drive back down home to my parents. It's going to take me about an hour, so I thought, why not do it on the way? So this is going to be a video where I'm just going to be talking mostly. I'm going to put some clips in of some of the cars and, you know, some pictures and stuff like that, but mostly me talking. So if you don't like that, now's probably the time to turn off. But if you do want to sit there and listen to me talk for the next, God knows how long this will be, probably quite long. I don't know how many cars I've had exactly. It's in the 20s, I think. So I've been driving now for about 7 years, no, nearly 8 years. So I expect to make a few mistakes in this video, but it seems quite apt to do it now that I've got my kind of dream car. So I've wanted this car for so long now. I bought my first car when I was 16. I was quite late to driving. Well, you know, I had to wait until I kind of needed to drive. I wasn't fortunate enough to kind of be able to drive before I'm 16, which I know a lot of people do, you know, on farm tracks, whatever like that. I didn't have any of that. My first experience driving, my first car that I ever drove was a Ford Fiesta 1.25 Z-Tech. It was a Mark 4 or 5, I think. I drove that in a train station car park. It was my mate's car. I was 16. I had no idea what I was doing, and yeah, proceeded to just kangaroo up and down the car park. It was good. I remember that day. A little blue turd it was. So my first car was actually a Corsa, which yeah, it was pretty shit, but I remember being so happy to get this Corsa and get it on the road. My dad actually gave me £1,000 towards my first car, which was, the car was about 1,200 quid, I think. I was working at the time when I was 16. That's when I bought the car. I was working in a warehouse. Wasn't the best, but gave me enough money to get my car and get my car on the road, so I was pretty happy. So yeah, I started off with a Corsa. Wasn't a great car. Didn't really teach me anything about driving or anything like that, but you know, the main point for them was just to get out on the road. I was pretty eager to pass my test. I actually passed my test on my 17th birthday, my theory test I should say, and then I passed my full practical test about 2 weeks later. So yeah, I was on the road in about 2 weeks from being 17, because I was pretty eager to get driving. You might have guessed I quite enjoy driving, so as soon as I was 17, I was like, yeah, that's it. Like I say, I did my theory test on my birthday, so I was pretty keen. So yeah, I had the Corsa for a little while, and it was fucking shite, to be fair, wasn't it? It's a Corsa. I look back now, but at the time I thought it was the best car in the world. I fucking loved it. Started modifying it, got into a couple of forums, got into the internet really. I wasn't really bothered about the internet before, but got really into the Corsa UK forum, if anyone was on there. I think I've got about 20,000 posts on there, if not something close to that. So yeah, I was pretty into my Vauxhalls back in the day, and that actually led to my second car purchase. After about 6 months of owning the Corsa, I got a bit bored of the power, wanted something faster. Ended up going to look at a Citroen C2 VTR with the horrible automatic gearbox, and I'd saved up a bit of money because I started working full time, and I thought, yeah, this is going to be the car for me. It was absolutely fucking shite. But the garage also had an Astra for sale. It was a Vauxhall Astra 1.8 SXI, same colour as my Corsa, just a lot nicer inside, a lot better car. Ended up buying that. I think it was only about £2 or something. So, you know, I didn't have to borrow any money or anything, just bought it, and I was like, yeah. The insurance was quite a lot on it, I think. Being 17, driving a 1.8, I can't remember exactly how much it was, but you know, it was quite expensive. And then enjoyed the Astra. The Astra was good. I mean, it was like the fastest car out of all my mates at the time, because everyone else had 1.2s and maybe 1.4s at a push, but I was there in the 1.8. I mean, it's only about 120 horsepower or something like that, like a proper shit engine, but you know, I fucking did the job. So then, as I said, I continued on this Corsa forum. I was big into my Corsas. I ended up getting a Corsa SRI 1.8 after that. I only had that car about 2 months, because after driving the Astra, I kind of accidentally started learning about cars and, you know, driving. I know an Astra is not exactly a driver's car, but having the Astra and then going back to the Corsa, because they shared the same engine, but like for example, the Astra had hydraulic steering, whereas the Corsa was electric. You know, the Corsa was a bit higher, you know, a bit more like you sat on it rather than sat in it, and I was like, this is fucking shit, I don't want this anymore. So after getting what I thought was my dream car at the time, I ended up selling the Corsa pretty fast. So next I wanted something that was kind of going to be like the Corsa SRI, but I wanted something that was actually going to drive, and I wanted to learn more about actual driving and, you know, having a car that handled well and, you know, that had a good chassis and stuff like that, which I ended up buying then. After the Corsa, I ended up buying, I think I was 18 by this point, I ended up buying a Saxos VTS. And let me tell you, that car was fucking sick. I absolutely loved my Saxos VTS. I actually ended up having two at the same time. The Saxos are great cars, especially if you want to learn about driving. And, you know, I started doing things like heel and toe and stuff in that car, and, you know, lift off oversteer, which was a bit scary when I started. I accidentally started learning about lift off oversteer driving the Saxos. If anyone's driven one, they are quite prone to getting a bit hectic if you want them to. So this was all good. So I had the two Saxos, they were great, but they are French, and it did start letting me down, unfortunately, the Saxo. I went through 2 gearboxes in 2 months. I was like, this is not good. This is not what I wanted. This is not what I signed up for. Especially because I only had one car at the time. I was working a job where I wasn't earning a lot of money, and having to fix the car all the time was pretty annoying. So I ended up selling the Saxo, and then I moved on to my first Japanese car, which was a Nissan Primera GT. I'd always heard about these cars from being on the piston heads for them. I think I signed up to piston heads about the time of buying my first Saxo. The Nissan Primera GT, if you don't know, it's 150 horsepower SR20 DV, I think, or DE. SR20 motor anyway, naturally aspirated, 150 horsepower, but the chassis on them is good. They handle really well for a big saloon car. I think, I can't remember the exact suspension layout or whatever it works, but my car cost me about £500. It was a GT LE, had the leather interior, Momo gear, know a few nice bits, and for 500 quid, it was good. I mean, it handled just as good as the next car. So I got a bit bored of the image of that the Primera gave me. You got to remember I was an 18-year-old lad. I don't think I was that bothered about what girls thought, but I probably was. I mean, I used to get some shit for having that car. No matter how good a car it was, everyone was asking me, you know, I'm here to deliver a takeaway. What am I doing in the Primera? It was a sick car, but I had to let it go. I sold it to one of my mates. Right, so after it became time to sell the Primera, I thought, here's a car that I've always kind of fancied and not had, and with having the Saxos and stuff, it kind of made sense to progress to this car. So that was my first Clio Sport, well, my only Clio Sport. I've not owned another one yet, but I ended up buying a Odyssey Blue Phase 1 172. That was a nice car. The previous owner had done a 182 rear end conversion on it, so we had the Phase 1 front end and the 182 rear end, which for me was perfect, especially in Odyssey Blue, because I think there was only 116 sold in the UK, so it was pretty rare colour, pretty rare car. I really did like that car. It's the only car that I've actually had trouble with the police in, unfortunately. I don't know, it was just a police magnet, and I actually got my first and only points in that car. I got stopped hooning it home one day. I think I went to a car meet or something like that, and I was hooning it on some country roads. I had this car behind me, and it was a BMW 5 Series, and I looked, and he was close to me, and I was in my Clio 172, and I was like, I'm not going to let some 5 Series bully me, so I just kicked it down and booted it. Of course, it was an undercover police car behind me. I didn't realise at the time. He pulled me after about 3 miles, from which my average speed was 83. Considering that was a mix of 50, 60 and 40 roads, yeah, it wasn't good. I also had 3 tyres which he claimed were illegal. To be fair, they were right on the limit, the tyres. It was in the middle of summer, so it didn't really matter that much, but yeah, I got away lucky with that one. I only got 3 points. Could have been a lot worse than what it was. But yeah, after that I thought, right, better sell this car and get something a bit more grown up. So after that, I ended up with my first BMW. So my first BMW, it was a 320D, a bit of a contrast from the Clio 172, but as that car was such a police magnet, like I said, I wanted something a bit more grown up, and something that I'm less likely to lose my license in. So I was looking for a 320D for a while, and I actually found this one for sale on the Clio Sport website, sold by a guy called Dave, who's had quite a few interesting cars, and I used to quite look up to this guy. I probably still would if I looked at what he was doing now, but I remember I used to read this guy's build threads and be like, whoa, he's going places. Sir Dave, his name was. Anyway, he had this 320D for sale, and it was in Estral Blue, which is the same colour as what the M3 is now. Rare colour, especially for a 320D. It was individual paint and nice miles, nice spec. So I ended up buying that. I went all the way down to London for it on the train, which is something I'd not done before. I think I was 19 at this point. Yeah, I was 19 or so, and my dad wouldn't let me go down on my own with $4.5 grand of cash in my pocket. So my granddad came with me, which was good. My granddad had never been on the tube before or anything like that, but that was a good day. Me and my granddad driving back up from London in the 320D. Remember that day? It was good. And I really did like that car as well. I kept that for quite a long time. But I remember selling it because one day I heard what I thought was DMF rattle, and I only heard it this one day, and because I wasn't earning a lot of money at the time, I ended up selling the car because I was just feared of what it might cost me. I spent all my money on the car, and it was costing me a lot to keep going because I made sure I only put genuine bits on it and nice tyres and stuff like that. And I've always tried to make sure my cars have got the best tyres and brakes and stuff. I try not to cheap out where I can. And I just wasn't earning the money when I was 19 to keep that car going. And if the clutch and DMF did go on it, I would have been skint. I would have had to borrow money or to get like a Wonga loan or something to fix it. I was like, fuck that. So I ended up selling that car, and yeah, then I got my first turbo petrol car after that. Bit of a contrast from the 320D. Definitely a contrast when you consider why I bought the 320D, which was to calm down. I ended up buying the Seat Ibiza Cupra. So it was a 1.8 20 valve turbo, stage 3 tuned, I think, or stage 2 tuned. I can't remember the numbers. I think it was about 240 brake, stripped interior. Yeah, it was a little rocket ship, that car. So that was by far the fastest car I'd had up until that point. And yeah, it was really fast, that car. I mean, I remember the day I picked it up, I went to pick my mate up, and we went to Barnsley in it, I think. Which on a night we used to hang about in the Barnsley CP car park back in the day. And I just remember driving up to the car park and just doing a lap in this Seat Ibiza. Fucking hell, it was fast. That car was fast. I think it's because it's my first turbo petrol car. In fact, yeah, that's my only petrol turbo car that I've had, was the Ibiza Cupra. It's not bad. 180, not bad. I mean, Dan's still got his, as you know. I think I had mine about 2 or 3 months, or maybe that. See, it was a really fast car. It was so fast in a straight line. Obviously, I'm speaking relatively here. I was 19, so it was fast for me. If I drove it now again, I presume I wouldn't be that impressed with the straight line speed. But back then, I was like, whoa, this car's sick. And yeah, it was really fast in the straight lines, and it had coilovers, upgraded roll bars, and quite a few chassis mods. But it just didn't handle. Like, it just didn't drive that nice. And the seating position was horrible as well. It's kind of like when I bought the Corsa SRI the first time, where, yeah, it's fast, but I'm not really enjoying driving it. Like when I was 18, I had the Corsa. It's like the Ibizas have electric steering as well, just like the Corsa did, and you just don't feel connected to the car. And I remember thinking, I need to get a car that's more focused on the driver. A car that I might actually end up keeping for a while as well, because I've been through quite a few cars by now. I've missed out a couple of cars. There's a few shit cars that I've had in between, and a few cars that I've bought to sell on. 106 GTI being one of those. I had a 106 GTI, Peugeot 106 GTI for just bought it as a project, mostly because it was featured on Top Gear. This one car used to be a press car, and I was like, oh, that's cool, I've got to buy that.
So this is better than a Viper then, is it? Right, let's see what we've got here. Mmm, a delicious omelette. Let's...
So me and my mate bought it. It needed a clutch, put a clutch in it and sold it on. You know, there's a couple of cars that I like that I bought just to sell on, but I'm just going to talk about the cars that I've actually, you know, owned and driven. So yeah, I thought I want to get a car that I'm actually going to buy and keep for a bit, and I started thinking about, you know, Type R's, and you know, I was 19. I was like, I probably can't insure a Type R. And I checked and I checked, and I could just about afford the insurance on an EP3. I could also just about afford the insurance on a UK DC2 Type R, which was for some reason quite a lot cheaper than the imports. I started looking, and you know, I'd always wanted a DC2, but they were a bit out of budget compared to the EP3. I could get an EP3 a lot easier, and you know, they're a lot more common. But I went to drive an EP3, and it was the electric steering again that just kind of, I don't know, I just didn't agree with it. I just didn't like it. The car was fast and everything, but like, nah. Then I went to see a couple of DC2s up and down the country. You know, was looking around, couldn't really find anything that fit just right, and I was like, fucking, you know, I don't know what to do here. And then just by absolute chance, a dealership in Wakefield, which was only about 15 minutes from my house, listed a DC2 Type R sale. It was white, red Recaros. The mileage was about 90,000, I think, when I bought it, but it had full Honda history, and you know, previous owner had it 9 years, and I was like, whoa, this could be the car. You know, no rust, really clean. So I went to look at it, and I just fell in love straight away. I think my Integra was advertised for about £4,000. I think I paid $3,700 for it back in the day. That was about 5 years ago now. So yeah, good times buying the Integra. The Integra was my daily for about a year or so. I didn't do any track days at this point. I used to go to shows. I used to clean my car, go to car shows. Yeah, I used to love the Integra, just keeping it nice and clean, and you know, getting the wet back out of my Recaros, and just, yeah, good times. But after about a year of detailing the Integra, I ended up getting a new job where I was getting paid a lot better, and I thought, right, it's time for a daily, because you know, as nice as the Integra is, there are other cars that I want to own, but I don't want to sell the Integra. And I was fortunate enough to be in a position where I could own another car, and I managed to get, I think, Admiral multi-car policy or something like that on 2 cars. And that's when the first 328 came along. So I'd been looking for a 328 for a while in Techno Violet, and that's what I ended up getting. I got a 328 Sport Techno Violet. My uncle drove me up to Scotland for it, Edinburgh, and yeah, it was good. It was mostly stock and original. We had a few nice M3 parts on it. It had a M3 LSD, it had M3 clocks with working oil temperature gauge, and it was like a baby M3, you know. It had quite a few nice bits on it. Fucking loved that car. Oh, that was a good car, and I wouldn't have sold it, but the job that I just spoke about, I got a decent job. I actually ended up getting made redundant from like within 10 months, which was fucking shit. So I had to get rid of the free. It was either get rid of the 328 or the Integra, and I decided to get rid of the 328. Ended up buying the Audi then, because I got another job then in Sheffield, which is about 40 miles each way from my house. So you know, doing a lot of travelling, and yeah, ended up buying the Audi. Good car. I bought the Audi from Weymouth, which is right down south. I think it took us about 5 hours to get there, but I saw it on eBay. I spoke to the guy. He actually used to own an Integra as well, so we had like a bit of a common connection. And yeah, the Audi was my daily for daily. Yeah, the Audi was my daily for quite a while. I just started getting into track days with my Integra, and you know, the Audi was perfect because I could keep my Integra, you know, strip it out and, you know, start doing stuff to that, and the Audi was just a perfect little mile muncher. But for some reason, I thought it would be a good idea to buy a DC5. So I sold the Audi to one of my mates, and yeah, I bought a DC5. Is that the order it goes in? Is the DC5 next? I think the DC5 comes next. Yeah, so I managed to save up a bit of money and ended up buying this DC5. Bought it locally as well, and I think I got it quite cheap from memory. I think I got it for like less than what it was worth. So it was one of the situations where I thought, buy it. If I don't like it, I can sell it on. A bit like this M3, you know. I did actually get this for quite a good price. But yeah, so I bought it and it was all right. But as a daily, especially when you've got a DC2 Type R, which is going, you know, slowly becoming a track car, it wasn't cutting the mustard that well. It was a good car, the DC5. It was a really nice DC5. It was really clean. You know, the exterior and interior were all in really good condition. But I don't know. I just didn't really bond with it. I think it's because I had the DC2. You know, I was happy with the DC2, and the DC5 was not a bad car, but I don't know. I think you've got to remember, although you know my channel is based around Hondas, I'm not like some Honda super geek, and I will gladly admit that there are better cars to drive every day than Hondas. The DC5 was a great car, but when I've got the DC2 sat at home, it just wasn't great enough on a daily driver. So that went, and what replaced it, I can't remember. So I think the 330i Touring was next after the DC5. Great car, full BM history, bought it from a BMW technician. He'd owned it years. Yeah, that was a really good car. It had everything in it. Spec was pretty much like this. So it had black interior, heated seats, digital TV tuner, and I love that car. But the only issue is I was still working in Sheffield, and I was doing a lot of miles in a car that was averaging 26 miles per gallon maybe. It wasn't manual, so it was a 330i manual Touring, which is pretty rare, but it just wasn't really, it just wasn't fuel efficient enough for the job, and I ended up getting rid of it for, what did I get rid of it for? So I just started getting into rear wheel drive with 330i. With the first 328 Sport, I never really did any skids in because I wasn't really that confident enough of doing it. But I think with more track driving in the Integra, I was starting to get more and more confident, you know, driving on the road as well. And I ended up getting rid of the 330i, and that's when the E34 came along. I wanted something that was worth quite a lot less if it did end up pranging it, you know, learning rear wheel drive. And also E34s just look cool as fuck. So you've probably all seen the E34 video. Yeah, they're good times. That was a good car, enjoyed that. But I was still working in Sheffield at this point, and although the 520 was a bit more economical than the 330 was, driving a 25-year-old car, whatever it was, 23-year-old car every day to work, wasn't that good. You know, it stunk of oil all the time, and I was always worried something was going to break. I think the car had done about 180,000 miles, despite, you know, it was in really good condition, but I was thinking like, you know, I shouldn't really do this. Plus, every time I took that car out, I was sending it sideways around a roundabout, because, especially in conditions like this, it was just so much fun. It was like you were just sat in this big leather armchair with split armrests, and you were just sat bobbing around, and it would just slide so well. And I thought, since I had that incident with the police, I decided, yeah, I'll probably sell this car on and try and get something that I won't get in as much trouble with. And I think that's when I bought the Audi back. Maybe. Yeah, I think that's when I bought the Audi back. So my mate Carl, who I sold the Audi to, he ended up buying a 530D because he had some issues with the Audi, and I ended up buying the Audi back, fixing it up, and I was my daily driver again for a bit. So at this stage I've got the Audi and the Integra again, so I'm back to this dream two car setup, but then I'm starting to think, actually I wouldn't mind, oh shit, I forgot some cars. No, the DC5. Right, so the DC5 I actually swapped for the black Integra, plus some cash my way. You know, the black Integra that I owned a couple of months ago, the first time I owned it was I got it on a swap for the DC5 plus cash, and I ended up then swapping that car for an EP3, one of my mates from back home, and then I sold, did I sell the EP3? I can't really remember what I did with the EP. Oh yeah, I sold it to Wes. Wes bought the EP3. One of the Essex lads from 621, etc. Wes Staines, I don't know. One of Pete's mates. He bought the EP3. So yeah, I did it on an EP3 for a bit. Yeah, so I had the Audi and the Integra again at this point. I keep missing cars, sorry, this is going to be like the worst my car history video in the fucking world. Right, so we had the Integra and the Audi 2016, and then I decided I wanted another BMW. And that's when I got the red 328 Sport, which we bought from Reading. Dan took me down. And yeah, that was a good car. Yeah, I liked that. Did a few little bits to it, got the wheels refurbed and stuff like that, you know, little tarty up bits. And I actually put my all-time favourite E36 interior in that car, which was grey Alcantara Vaders, which you can see a picture of here because I fucking love that. But I ended up selling that. I don't know why. Why did I sell that? There must be a reason why I sold that car, but I can't remember now. So yeah, I ended up selling that car. Tom bought it, Tom Lynch, one of my old-time mates. I've got habits of selling cars to mates. I don't know whether it's the channel or what, but so yeah, my mate bought my 328, and then I think I was just down to the Audi and the Integra again. You know, dream two-car setup, and then, you know, after of course, what I'm forgetting in this history is all like everything that happened to the Integra over the years. So the Integra at this point is K-swapped. You know, it's been to the ring a couple of times, and you know, the Integra is starting to get a name for itself. But then the next car got quite a big name for itself as well, because I think this is about the time where I bought the Red EG. So the Red EG I bought from Wales, a nice kid called Dan, and that was a sweet car. It was built by Honda HQ, I think. Yeah, basically me and Josh were driving somewhere in the Audi, and I showed him that EG, because I'd always fancied an EG, and especially a K-swap one would be pretty cool. I think I remember showing the car on eBay. Josh was just like, oh, you've got to buy it, man. Yeah, it's fucking sick, that car. And I was like, yeah, fuck it. Alright, I'll buy it. So I bought the EG. Did really like the EG, but I spent every penny I had in the bank went then onto the EG. And then I was pretty skinned for a bit, but I managed to buy the T37s for it. And we did a couple of little track days in the EG as well. I went to Donington Park and Croft. If you watched any of the vlogs last year, you'll have seen that. You know, that was when I was just getting into vlogging, doing all the vlogging on this GoPro camera that you're watching me on now. But yeah, the EG, I did like it, but it had to go. I crashed the Integra at the Nürburgring, as everyone saw, and I had the EG there, and I was like, yeah, the EG was a good car, man. It was really nice. Like, the shell had only did about 30,000 miles, and you know, it was really clean and original. I mean, it was not rigid, obviously, but you know, the panels were really straight and stuff like that. It was just a nice car. But what happened then was that last year was an odd time in my life, without getting too in depth to emotions and the way a guy feels, without talking too much about any of that shite. So yeah, I sold the EG and ended up. What did I buy then? 328 Sport. Yeah, I bought the drift car then. I was like, I fucking want to do drifting. I've wanted to do drifting for ages. Pete was selling his 328, and you know, he tried selling it with those fucking fancy wheels on it at first, but I wasn't having that. I was in a fucking tunnel here. The fucking tunnel. So yeah, I bought the drift car. You all know how that went out. You know, I had quite a lot of issues with it early on. That was just about the time where I moved up to Harrogate as well. I got offered a new job up there, ended up moving out of home and moving up there. So yeah, went up there with the 328, and that's no, I had a few more cars than that. So I was up there and I had the 328, which I was going to start doing drifting in. I had the Integra, which was starting to loathe every day, and then I had the Audi as a daily. But you know, perfect three car setup for me, having a nice daily, having a 328 and an Integra, well, DC2 of course. So E36, DC2, Audi. I was a happy man. I would have stayed like that for a while. I would have been in the Audi now talking to you if it didn't break. So the Audi finally let go after, I think I'd done about, over the 2 times I'd owned it, I think I'd done about 50,000 miles in that car, so I was pretty good when it broke. I got quite attached to it. Nice to see that Joe's fixed it now and it's going to be back on the road. But yeah, I was pretty good when it broke, and I needed a car fast. As you'll know from previous videos, I then ended up buying the black Integra, which I was using as a daily because, you know, I only lived 2 miles from work, and you know, I was starting to cycle to work as well, so I wasn't really needing a big diesel car. And well, that's what I was telling myself. I thought I could live with a DC2 every day, just like I did, you know, 4 years previously, but I didn't really enjoy it, you know. The black Integra, it was a nice car, but I'm just not enough of a Honda geek to be driving that kind of car every day. Especially when I've had BMWs in the past, and I know firsthand that daily driving a BMW compared to a Honda, there is a significant difference in a lot of areas that just matter when you're driving a car every day. Because I've had BMWs in the past, I knew there were better cars to drive every day, in my opinion. And in my opinion, I'll say that again, in my opinion, BMWs are just better to drive every day. So I ended up selling that, and that's when we got the 330D, which was a good car as well, and kind of got to sell that. But when the M3 came up, I just had to buy it. To have a diesel engine that was, you know, quite so powerful yet so economical at the same time. I mean, that car it seemed to average 40 miles per gallon, no matter what. Bear in mind, I live in the middle of town, and you know, that was a lot of stop-start driving. Just 40 mpg no matter what. If you reset the mpg and like set the cruise to 70, it'd definitely do 50 mpg, but I ain't got time for that, man. So yeah, pretty much 40 mpg, but it was so fast. I don't think the M3 is that much faster in a straight line compared to the 330D. It was just so, it felt, I don't know if it was actually faster, it just felt fast, but yeah, I did like that car, and I would not have sold it. Like the perfect level up from the Audi, you know, it did everything the Audi could do and more, and you know, was a lot faster and a lot better to drive than the Audi was. And I did intend to keep the 330D for a while, but I could say that about every car that I've bought. You know, I've always gone in and bought a car thinking, oh yeah, I'm really excited about this car and can't wait to get it, but for some reason only a few cars have stuck around. You know, BMW 3 Series and the DC2. Take from that what you will. You all know my thoughts on the M3. It's a good car. Catchphrase. I know a few of you have asked for stickers saying good car. I don't know, does that count as a sticker really? Just good car? I don't know. But I'll try and knock something together. We'll see. We'll go from there. Right, so that's my car history. I know this video's been fucking long. Just to make it a bit longer, I just want to say some kind of cars that I would still like to own in the future. Kind of attainable dream cars maybe. If that's interesting to you, carry on listening. I've always wanted an E39 of any kind, just a BMW E39, just because I've loved the style of them. They're my favourite looking saloon by far, the E39. If I could get an M5 one, that would be pretty dope. I was looking at them when I bought this as well, but I couldn't quite find one for the money that I want. A lot of the E39 M5s have weird interiors as well, like they have black here and cream on the inside and stuff like that, and it's just like fucking, it looks like a Fabia VRS. It's not nice. But yeah, I'm still hoping to own an E39 one day, even if it's just like a 530D slush box just to get me around town and stuff, but you never know. One day I hope to own an E39. I also want to own a fast Audi estate at some point, either an RS6 or an RS4, just because I absolutely love my A4, as you all know, and to have some proper pace in an Audi Avant, I think they're pretty cool cars. Obviously there's a few cars that I would like to own that I don't think I will own, but you never know, like, you know, Porsche 911 and stuff like that. But that's only because I've been going to the Nürburgring a while now, and the Nürburgring is full of these cars. There's a fucking tree in the road. Ah, fucking hell. Right, so that's my car history. And if you've made it to the end, congrats. Because I'm looking at the GoPro now, and you know, I've had to reset the timer twice, so I think it's going to be quite a long video. This has probably took me ages to edit as well, like trying to find pictures of old cars and stuff like that. My favourite car out of them all, it's got to be the Integra, I guess, because I've had it that long now, and you know, I've done that much in it, had that many times in the car. If you want me to give some more details on, you know, why I bought X car or what I liked and what I didn't like about it, just let me know in the comments and I'll reply to you and let you know. Congrats for making it to the end of what has probably been a very long video. I know I'm almost home, so I'm gonna go see my dogs. So I will see you in the next video. Do you want to see my dogs? Alright. Well, I've come home and no one's home. Where's my dogs? Probably should have called before I set off.